Got to talk about the weather because we're getting into the weekend now, and it could be loud for some.
For some mornings, or I guess maybe going to bed, depending on what your Friday night plans are, right?
Absolutely.
That's true.
And it also depends on what part of the state you're in as well. We will have some storms out there late this evening, but that's really going to be for the panhandle. Right now, most of us are seeing nothing but lots of sunshine. It's very warm. It feels like summer. It looks like summer. It's basically summertime. Let's go ahead and go to Links 1. I'm going to kind of show you what's happened today. We ended up with a high of 91 degrees. That's the first time we've actually hit 90 degrees plus since October of last year. And typically we see our first 90-degree day on May 6th. Last year that happened on April 20th. So we're a little behind schedule this year, but I'm sure a lot of people not complaining about that. So lots of sunshine out there this afternoon. We do have some, you can see all the cloud cover to the north and east and also out in the panhandle. So that's where we currently have some storms. Right now, though, nothing severe here in Oklahoma, but that could likely change late this evening and into tonight. So just kind of looking at the big picture, Nexion Live showing some showers and storms at least in our area and parts of Kay County. Nothing severe, but definitely some very heavy rainfall, some lightning strikes, quite a bit of lightning just north of Newkirk there. And that's all slowly drifting off to the east, and eventually that should fall apart. But the main show that arrives overnight tonight. So for now, this is our El Reno camera, but of our Lucky Star Sky Cam network. Mostly sunny, still at 90 degrees. A southeast wind at 5 feels more like 91. Not a huge difference, but at this point, it does count. Dew points in the mid 60s, temperatures in the 70s and 80s, where we currently do have a few more rain and storms, but low 90s for most of us. Some mid 90s still showing up in the south and west. We're at 96 degrees in Altus, with the wind coming in out of the south and southeast between about 5 to 15 miles an hour. Gusts a little higher, though, in the panhandle. So right now, we also have some storms that are taking place over Colorado and far western Kansas and in New Mexico, and some of those storms are severe. Well, these storms will come together and eventually move into the panhandle late this evening. That should form a larger complex that will move through Oklahoma City here late tonight, but for most of us, it's going to be a well after midnight event. So what we're going to do is show you our futurecast, our future Nexion, and late this evening, storms are going to be a lot more likely in the panhandle. While we could still see a couple isolated storms in the eastern half of the state and also off to the north. But overnight tonight, eventually scattered showers and thunderstorms moving across the state from the northwest to the south and east. Now, here's the thing. A lot of the data showing that should clean us out for Saturday, meaning Saturday afternoon and evening. For a lot of us, it's going to be dry. But some data still shows a couple of storms popping up in the southern half of the state later in the afternoon and evening, while eventually more storms form out in the panhandle. This is going to be the cold front that moves through by early Sunday morning. So more storms expected, but just a slight chance here at Oklahoma City at this point. Some of the data is trying to keep those storms more in northeast Oklahoma, but can't rule out a stray shower or storm in Oklahoma City. And then Sunday afternoon looks fantastic. Temperatures still in the 80s, but it's going to be a north breeze, and it also looks dry. So for this evening, any one spot, still a very low chance of an isolated shower or storm, but eventually here in the next few hours, more storms will be a lot more likely out in the panhandle. And then overnight tonight, those storms will come together, moving through Oklahoma City and eventually off to the south and east. So late this evening and into tomorrow morning, the better chance for any severe weather will be across the west and eventually into the metro, but it would be very low end. It would be very isolated. We're talking quarter-size hail, wind gusts of 60 to 65. By late tomorrow morning into early afternoon with the storms to the south and east, that is where that severe weather threat will shift to. Temperatures will be dropping down into the mid and upper 60s in the meantime, low to mid 70s in the south and southwest. Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be back to about 90 degrees in Oklahoma City, some upper 80s and low 90s in the northeast, kind of the same thing really in the southwest as well. Tomorrow during the day, I think overall chances do look low for most of us early in the afternoon. Still some storms possible in the far southeast, but then looking at late tomorrow afternoon to the evening, some storms possibly redeveloping out in the panhandle, and some of those could become low and severe as well. Quarter-size hail, wind gusts of 60 to 65. But tomorrow night to Sunday morning, as a cold front drops across the state, a slight chance in Oklahoma City, but more of a little bit higher chance, at least in the northeast. So for Sunday afternoon, it still looks really warm, highs in the mid-80s, upper 70s and low 80s in the northwest. And eventually that wind's going to be coming in out of the north between about 15 to 25. But the cooler air, again, it's all relative. We're dropping down into the low 80s on Monday, Tuesday 80 degrees with another chance of rain and storms, possibly severe.